heck was that?
Look!
Welcome once again, my fellow manipulators of Digital Fate. I'm Richie, this is Capricorn, and today we're back at it with another standard deck tech straight out of Edge of Eternity Standard, and this one's a doozy. This one's called Meteor, and the idea is we're going back to +1/+1 counters matters with Jenova, but this time we're doing it 𝐴𝑏𝑧𝑎𝑛, because we're making insane great use of Sir Vondam, which just synergizes insanely well with +1/+1 counters, and we're also using the Bulwark Ox and Zack Fair and a bunch of ridiculous synergies that are only available in 𝐴𝑏𝑧𝑎𝑛 to just push this deck over the top. We even have access to like Ouroboroid and Landing Zone in this deck. It's absolutely nuts. Before we dive in, break down the deck, and then get into the gameplay, please like the video. It does help me get it out to so many more people. It helps the channel grow, and I appreciate it more than I can express with words. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe. Also, every Sunday at Merrimack Games and Comics in Merrimack, New Hampshire, I'll be hosting a Wonders of the First Learn to Play at 12 noon. So if you want to be a part of that, come hang out with me at Merrimack Games and Comics. That's going to quickly turn into like a free sealed event. Once we have enough people showing up on Sundays that know how to play, that have a game or two under their belt, I'm going to start pulling out all of my collector packs, and we're going to have free sealed events for everyone as well. So come get in on the shenanigans. That's happening every Sunday at 12 p.m. at Merrimack Games and Comics. Also, be sure to catch me live Monday through Friday over on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/QuarantineCapricorn. Because if I'm alive and I'm breathing, I'm there and I'm streaming. Now let's break down this deck. So I just keep finding crazy ways to make Sir Vondam even better, and I've been looking for a way to make a new +1/+1 counters deck built around Jenova work, and then I realized that both of those kind of fit together like peanut butter and jelly. So first off, Sir Vondam's a 2-mana 2/2 with Vigilance and Menace. When anything dies or is put into exile, it gets a counter and you gain a life. When it dies or is put into exile while its power is 4 or greater, you destroy any one target non-land permanent. The fact that this can trigger off of being put into exile as well as death is what makes this card so insane. I've used it in a bunch of decks already, but being able to essentially have your opponent, you know, Banishing Light or Pinnacle Starcage or whatever your Sir Vondam, and then immediately use its ability to kill that permanent so that your Sir Vondam just comes right back can be pretty insane. But obviously Sir Vondam gets even better if you have other ways of putting counters on him, and you have ways to get even more value off him dying in addition to the trigger that destroys whatever you want. Enter Jenova, a 4-mana 1/5 in the colors of Golgari. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you get to put any number of, not any number, a number of +1/+1 counters equal to its power on another target creature. It becomes a mutant, and if a mutant dies during your turn, you get to draw cards equal to its power. So, if you start buffing up Sir Vondam with a bunch of counters and also turn it into a mutant, if it dies during combat when you're swinging, not only will you get to destroy whatever non-land permanent you want, but you'll draw a whole bunch of cards, which can get really, really crazy. Since both of these cards get way better with +1/+1 counters, we're running a ton of things that work well with +1/+1 counters. A couple of the other new cards we're running: Ouroboroid, a 4-mana 1/3. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you put X counters on each creature you control, where X is this creature's power. This just makes boards go completely insane. If you've already got a bunch of creatures down, it buffs them all up the turn it comes into play, but it also buffs itself up. And if you have other ways of putting counters on your creatures, you could potentially put more counters on the Ouroboroid first, so that it spits out even more counters onto everything, which is just nuts. I would love to fit more copies of this in the deck. I do think Jenova's a little bit more important because of the card advantage, but both of these cards are absolutely insane 4-drops. We're also running 2 copies of Loading Zone. This is another card I'd like to find room for more of, but I think 2 feels kind of right for this version. You can warp it out for just 1 mana, and that's where the value lies. This is essentially just a 1 mana like sorcery speed. It almost feels like a 1 mana sorcery where just until end of turn you double all the counters that you make. except it's better than a 1-mana sorcery that does that, which honestly, a 1-mana sorcery doing that is kind of gas to begin with. But it's better than that, because you can also just play it later from exile for the full 4-mana cost, and then it's just there forever doing its thing. And whenever any counters are put on anything, you get to put twice as many on, which is just absolutely nuts. Jenova starts spitting out way more counters, Ouroboroid starts just snowballing into insanity, and Sir Vondam is getting 2 counters per trigger, just absolutely nuts. Going back to the bottom of the curve, we are running 4 copies of Llanowar Elves so that we can ramp into this insanity as quickly as possible. I'd rather have a turn 3 Jenova or Ouroboroid and not have to wait until turn 4. We're also running 2 copies of Zack Fair, which comes down as a 1-mana 1/2 because it has a +1/+1 counter on it. You can pay 1 mana and sack him to give any creature indestructible until end of turn and put its counters on that creature. So not only is this a way for us to protect our Jenova or our Ouroboroid or our Sir Vondam maybe until it gets big enough that we can get more value out of it, but when we sack it, we get to move counters as well. And if we have the loading zone out, that means we get to basically add double the counters onto something that Zack began with, because when we put counters on something, loading zone's going to double it. So you can see how things start to snowball. Once you have a loading zone out, Zack can put counters on Ouroboroid, which doubles, and then Ouroboroid puts counters on everything and it doubles. Same thing with Jenova. Everything just gets super crazy. In addition to the 2 copies of Zack Fair, we're running 4 copies of Bulwark Ox. This is a 2-mana 2/2, saddles for 1. When it attacks, it puts a counter on whatever you want. But we're mainly running it because when we sack it, all creatures we control with counters on them gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. This is the bread and butter of the deck, guys. The 4 Bulwark Ox and the 2 Zack Fairs kind of create this 4-card package that consistently makes sure we get at least one of them to protect our board. And the Bulwark Ox is even better than Zack. If we sack the Bulwark Ox while a Sir Vondam is on the battlefield, it will immediately get a counter from the death trigger of Bulwark Ox dying, and then because it has a counter, it will get the hexproof and indestructible that things with counters get when we sack the Ox. It's an absolutely nuts synergy, and I love it. But we can also use it to protect the entire board. Our Jenova, our Ouroboroid, everything's going to be shooting out counters left and right. Bulwark Ox can protect that, and also potentially swing and add counters every turn, which also gets crazy if you're doubling counters with loading zone. We also have 3 copies of Pawpatch Recruit. This is one that I'd love to have 4 of, but it's just really hard to fit everything into the deck. Being able to just jam this on 1 or spend 3 mana to pop it out on 3 and get 2 of these essentially onto the battlefield is nuts. When they start trying to kill or remove certain creatures, we get even more triggers to get counters. And like I said, those triggers, those counters can start to double with things like loading zone. So everything in the deck is just really, really crazy when it comes to counter synergies. We're also running 3 Undying Malice. 1 mana instant until end of turn. Target creature gains when it dies. Return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control with a +1/+1 counter on it. I think this is better than some of the protection spells, because sometimes we actually want things to die. So this is the best of both worlds. It's kind of a protection spell that functions similarly to like Zack or the Ox. But it doesn't actually protect the thing. It lets it die and then come back. So we can trigger like our Sir Vondam's ability to destroy target permanent, or we can trigger like if a mutant dies on our turn and lets us draw cards off Jenova. All of that stuff can be triggered, but then whatever did die comes back, and it comes back with a counter on it, which is 2 counters if you have a loading zone out. So you just start the process all over again, and it gets absolutely crazy. So not only can we get a ton of card advantage out of Undying Malice, but we just use it to protect our key pieces similar to Zack Fair and Bulwark Ox. Just so many cards in this deck that just protects our board state. It gets really, really crazy. We're also running a full play set of Reluctant Role Model, because this card makes everything even crazier. Whenever anything with counters on it dies while this is out, all of those counters move on to something else. And if you have a loading zone out when that happens, you get double the counters. It's also worth noting if you have 2 Reluctant Role Models out when that happens, each of the Reluctant Role Models will place a number of counters equal to whatever the thing that died had, so you'll double your counters that way. If you happen to have 2 Reluctant Role Models and a loading zone out, you'll get double counters that will then double again once they land on their targets. Absolutely insane. Also, this is a way for you to get flying and lifelink counters if you trigger the survival ability, which can then move to other things if Reluctant Role Model ever dies. Just the entire deck synergizes with counters in some insane ways, and it's really, really hard to stop once it gets going. We also have just one Bristly Bill Spine Sower. This card I think is good enough to include one copy. It is legendary, but being able to trigger the landfall, put counters on stuff, and also being able to have access to that sort of ultimate alpha strike ability of paying 5 mana to double the counters on every creature you control is pretty powerful, so we jammed one copy in here. Moving on to the 3-drop slot, we have 4 copies of Fenrir, and this is mostly in here because it works super well with Jenova or Ouroboroid. Landing on turn 3, fetching a land so that you can make sure you have 4 lands to play your 4-drop no matter what, even if you're out of lands in your hand, is super nice. And then on chapter 2, the next thing that you play enters with a counter, which means when you do play that Jenova or that Ouroboroid, it's going to come in even bigger and start snowballing value and adding even more counters to everything than it otherwise would have, and kind of have a head start with snowballing the insanity. So I actually think Fenrir is a key piece to a deck like this. And then on chapter 3, it'll also draw you a card if you have the biggest creature. And in a deck like this, you're probably going to have the biggest creature. It's also worth pointing out that the lore counters on the Fenrir work with some of the counters synergies. So even if you don't have +1/+1 counters on it, you can still protect the Fenrir by sacrificing a Bulwark Ox, because it gives everything that has any counters on it hexproof and indestructible. So it'll also protect your Fenrir so it can stick around and get you a little bit more value. The other 3-drop that we're running is Warden of the Grove, which is also kind of insane in this deck. A 2/2 for 3. At the beginning of your end step, you put a +1/+1 counter on it, which will double if you have some of your doublers. And whenever another non-token creature you control enters, it endures X, where X is the number of counters on this creature. So again, you start putting more and more counters on the Warden, and the Warden just gives back even more. It lets creatures enter the battlefield immediately with a bunch of counters on them, which is super good for Sir Vondam, Ouroboroid, or Jenova. Or if you're desperate, you can also just make a separate creature for that same amount instead of getting those counters, and have like chump blockers and things like that. I think Warden's absolutely nuts. And that's the deck. We are running a package of Verges and some basics and the Fabled Passages, because the Fabled Passages are really good for triggering the Bristly Bill, and we also want to make sure we have enough basics for Fenrir to search out as well. So it kind of makes sense, if we're running the basics and the Fabled Passages, we might as well be taking advantage of that with the Verges, and then using Godless Shrine as a shock land to just reinforce the basic land types to turn on our Verges as well. So that's the deck. The entire list is in the description, so check it out if you're interested, and let's check out the games. I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Wonders of the First. Wonders of the First is a brand new collectible card game similar to games like Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, featuring a unique action-based resource economy that helps avoid pitfalls like Mana Flood or Mana Screw, and a battlefield containing multiple realms that unlock over time as you fight for control of the stones. The first 400 card set is called Existence, and they've even partnered with Star City Games to host their competitive play tour at every single SCG-Con event starting in August. The game contains alternate borderless art variants, as well as highly sought after limited edition numbered prints, culminating in a 1-of-1 stone foil. And the best part is that the developers have a community-first approach, with a card database and deck builder available via Cardio, as well as a version of the game available on Tabletop Simulator, all for free. For more information, be sure to check out wondersccg.com today. That's wondersccg.com. This looks fine, I guess. We can keep it. No 1-drop, but that's okay. We'll start with a tapped Godless Shrine. No god here. I think it's too important that we get something onto the battlefield. As much as I would love to set up for a turn 3 Warden, it's not in the cards, quite literally. You're not wrong, Geth Prime. You are not wrong. I guess I still want to play Sir Vondam, right? Pass the turn. Simulacrum Synthesizer, sure. That might be a problem. Alright, let's crack this and find a forest. Because we're going to need that more than anything else. Do we Warden? Or do we want to hold up Undying Malice? I think we Warden. I think we Warden while we can. United Battlefront? Two dudes. Nope. 𝐶𝑒𝐿𝑒𝑟𝑟𝑎𝑐ℎ. One dude. But he gets the Perilous Snail. Or oh, he hits the Warden. Interesting decision. I don't know if that's correct. I think you have to get rid of Sir Vondam before he gets the 4. I think that might have been a bad call. I think that might have been a bad call. We're going to Offspring Pawpatch Recruit. And then we will attack and kill 𝐶𝑒𝐿𝑒𝑟𝑟𝑎𝑐ℎ. And we will hold up the Undying Malice. As much as I'd love to have the loading zone down, we don't want to get greedy. Just going to do it this way. Another nutrient block. That sounds awful, Goblin. I'm sorry to hear that. He's gonna swing. He's not gonna swing. Do we just play loading zone? I think so. I think we just play it. Don't even worry about warping it out right now. Still hold up the Undying Malice. Swing for 3. Spring-loaded Sawblades. Except it's not tapped, so... That's not gonna work. Not so much. We'll hold up the Undying Malice. If he kills anything before Sir Vondam's gonna get a bunch of counters. 4, 5, 6 counters. So maybe we just want to swing with everything, actually. I think maybe we just want to swing with everything. If he blocks and kills a Pawpatch Recruit, we get 2 counters on the Sir Vondam. That might be worth it on its own. I still want to save the Undying Malice for Sir Vondam, though. If I wasn't going to save it for Sir Vondam, I would have blocked with this Pawpatch Recruit and used it on it so it comes back with counters. It'll come back with 2, which is pretty crazy. Alright, Spring-Loaded Sawblades becomes a dude. Seems like he just doesn't have enough 3-drops to trigger the synthesizer. Tap 2 other untapped artifacts to turn it into a thing. Well, we'll go this. And we'll go this. And we will swing here for 5. And we will still hold up the Undying Malice. End the turn. He's down to 13. He needs more bodies. He needs to trigger that synthesizer. Cryogen relic. Sure. If he tries to tap down the Sir Vondam, we can sack the Ox to give it hexproof. If we want to. Undying Malice. Welcome to Earth. What do we want to hit? Perilous Snare? Or Simulacrum Synthesizer? I'm not even worried about the synthesizer anymore. Let's hit the snare. Get back our Warden. It's going to be really strong with loading zone down. Another Perilous Snare, sure. What are you going to hit? The Warden again? I mean, alright. That's kind of fine. Sir Vondam becomes a 6/6 because of the loading zone. Lots of craziness going on. I don't want to do this. 6, 10. We can't really swing with the Ox, can we? We'll just swing with Sir Vondam. Get in for 6. Brings in the Chariot. That's fine. I don't even want to use the Ox. We'll kill the Construct. And then let me think. Do that, do that, do that. Hit you. Play you. And end the turn. Get 2 counters. Now, if we sack the Ox, sacking it puts counters on Sir Vondam. Which is really, really good. Hit the synthesizer. Put more counters on Sir Vondam because of Warden. So, so good. We could have potentially lifted the Star Cage. But what's the point? He gets back more than we do. Let's just hit this one. It's just built-in protection against Pinnacle Star Cage. He exiles it. It kills it to bring it back. It's kind of awesome. This looks okay. We can keep this. We are going to have to play the Fabled Passage first. I'll probably use it to find maybe white. I guess it doesn't really matter if it's white or green. We just want to make sure we can play a 2-drop on 2 and a Fenrir on 3. Alright, so we'll crack this. I guess we could find white. And then go Verge. And then play Ox. Next turn we could go Fenrir. Although we won't be able to saddle the Bulwark Ox right away, which is kind of a bummer. But it is what it is. I'm almost kind of wondering if we even should have played the Bulwark Ox at all because of that. Maybe we should have just got the role model down because it would have gotten the counter off the authority. Hello, sir. What would you like to do? It's on you, 𝐿𝐴𝐿𝑘𝐻. 3 steps ahead, sure. That's fine. Oh. You're not countering it. Oh, you don't have enough blue. That's funny. That's actually funny. We need to turn on the Wastewood Verge. Even though I want more white, we'll fetch a forest here. And we'll just swing 2. We can use the Bulwark Ox to protect the Fenrir right now, even though it doesn't have a +1/+1 counter, because it still has a lore counter on it. It's not nothing. Consult the star charts. Ooh. This dude's losing so much tempo just trying to draw. So crazy. Alright, 𝐿𝐴𝐿𝑘𝐻. Whatever we play next gets a counter. So I think we start with Sir Vondam. And then we try to stay mana efficient. And then we will saddle with the Fenrir, I guess, so that we can swing and put another counter on Sir Vondam. End the turn. Now if we can just get that reluctant role model down, we'll be in really good shape. Because then we get to keep all of our counters when things die. This dude's having the hardest time finding blue mana. You poor man. Another 3 steps ahead to draw. Yeah, Azorius mana is really, really rough right now, unfortunately. Another authority. Alright, so we draw a card. And we will eventually get a counter on whatever we play next. I think we probably want it to be this guy. Sure, gain some life. And then Bill. Gain more life. And then we will Fabled Passage. Put a counter on Sir Vondam. And then we will crack the Fabled Passage. Probably find the plains. Oh, we don't have one left. We'll just grab the swamp. Put another counter on Sir Vondam. And then we'll play another Reluctant Role Model. We'll keep the fact that we have a second Bulwark Ox. We'll keep that a secret. Saddle with this guy. Put a counter on this guy. Because we want to be able to protect the whole team if we sacrifice that Ox. And we don't really need to worry about evasion or lifelink, it seems, against this deck. I think he's playing control. So we'll just take the +1/+1 counters. And keeping the second Ox hidden, I think, is smart. Because if he does try to do a sweeper like this, we've got another one to play. He might think he's getting rid of our Ox. So we bait him to use a sweeper. And we might... Oh god, we get all the counters. He's had enough. He's had enough. This looks fine. We can keep this. We will start with... I guess there's no way to play a turn 2 Sir Vondam, right? I guess we just play a forest. Everything makes green until we have a basic out. Undying Malice is toast. Bummer. I think we want the Ox first. Pass the turn. I don't know if we jam the bill before playing the land. Well, now I guess we definitely do that. If we top deck another land, we play Ouroboroid. If not, we probably go with Reluctant Role Model. Well, there's the land. I think we want to fetch white. I don't think we want to play Ouroboroid. I think we want to go Sir Vondam and Reluctant Role Model. Ouroboroid's better on a turn where it gets to buff up the creatures that are already there. We've got 𝐀𝐫𝐞𝐧𝑚. I mean, I'll take it. Do we want +1/+1? Yeah, I think we just go with +1/+1s for now. And we'll play out the land. We are at the whims of the dude now. Gotta probably use removal on Sir Vondam, right? Before we get to turn it into removal. Makes sense. Loading zone. I guess we just play it, huh? That's a lot. We swing for lethal? With an out of nowhere loading zone? I guess? Alright, this hand actually looks pretty good. We're going to keep it. We're going to start with Wastewood Verge into Llanowar Elves. And then, let's see, turn 2, we could drop a 3-drop. Hello. Or we could drop... We couldn't drop Zack and Sir Vondam. So I actually think it's best to probably just drop the Warden here. And we'll see if he's got removal for it. Maybe, maybe not. If he doesn't, he's gonna have a problem. He's for sure gonna have a problem. We need access to white. So we're gonna have to play that for sure. I guess it's probably best to do this and hold up the Undying Malice. It's gonna long goodbye. We're gonna use the Undying Malice so that it comes back with a counter, still triggers. 308 +1/+1 counters. No, just 3. Just 3. Wow, that was weird. I'll take it, though. We've got a hell of a board now. And he can probably get rid of something this turn. But once Zack comes down, it's over. It's over. We got another Undying Malice just sitting here, too. He's gonna be so mad. He just scoops it up. Unbelievable. No black, but otherwise this actually looks pretty good. We're gonna keep it. Llanowar Elves on 1. Possibly just the Pawpatch Recruit with the Offspring on 2. We won't give away that we're playing white yet. No reason to. I would consider playing both Reluctant Role Model and Zack, but we don't have double white to do that, so I think it just makes more sense to do this. If we top deck a land, we can maybe play both. Otherwise, I think we have to fetch black with this anyway. So we play one of the white spells next turn. Do we Zack or do we Reluctant Role Model? That's the question. Definitely play Fabled Passage. We're not going to have any mana to protect Jenova with Zack anyway. So I think it might actually be better to just play the Role Model. And we'll swing with the Pawpatch Recruit just because we can. He's not going to trade his Tifa. If he does, we're happy. But he won't. Alright, let's see if he's got some crazy turn 3 Tifa play. Bristly Bill... Escape Tunnel? Sure. So he's going to swing for 10. That's not the craziest turn, though, considering he kind of blew his load with his Escape Tunnel. So he's not going to be able to do something even crazier. Oh, he's just putting the counter there. Okay. So he's not even going to hit us for 10. He's going to hit us for 8. He's not even going to swing? Wow, okay. That's weird. We'll grab the swamp. We'll play a forest. Tap the elves. Do we want to hold up Zack or I guess we want to hold up the Undying Malice. Ooh, we don't have double black though. So it kind of doesn't matter. We'll play Jenova. We'll play Zack. We'll target the Reluctant Role Model. We'll swing. Try to get a counter on. probably just a +1/+1 counter. I don't think we really need the flying or the life linking yet. We could end up needing the life linking eventually. I think we're okay for now, though. Doesn't seem like he's got any removal. Drops his land. Counter, double. Wow, puts the counter on the Tifa. If he had put it on the Hydra, it would be at 4 right now. Very strange. Very, very strange. We're gonna put the counter on Zack. Swing here. I guess we can swing here too. Since we have Undying Malice in our hand, it's okay if we pop Zack, and we can get card advantage off of popping Zack. So, we'll do this. He gets triggers off the role model and off the Zack. Off both role models and off the Zack, which is crazy. And then we smash in for 10 out of nowhere. We'll get a lifelink counter just to be safe. We don't... Do we need another Zack? I think the life is probably worth more. Because at this point, we're just worried about him kind of like comboing out of nowhere, doubling all of his powers, and swinging in for a bunch of trample damage. Which it does look like he has the potential to do. So we might have to just chump everything. We do have 10 blocking potential, 10 powers worth of blocking potential. If we make it through this turn, we're fine. We have the huge lifelinker. $26, 16. He's so close. If he's got some tricks, that might be enough. One more land and we're definitely toast. But he would need a spell to do that. So, what we need to do is block the dudes that don't have trample with the smallest butts. Two, three, four, and then block everything else with every butt. 7, 8. Looks like we're taking 18 right now. Oh, he's got Bristly Bill's ability. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. I forgot all about that ability. I played around all of the wrong things. There was an ability right out there in the open that I completely missed. Crazy. This looks like an okay hand. Not amazing because we don't have any 1-drops, but we can definitely keep it. We also don't have black, but I don't think that's going to matter too much either. I think we want the Bulwark Ox out first. The Bulwark Ox could tap down our Reluctant Role Model to get us extra value next turn if we play that. Although we might just play the Warden of the Grove. Kind of hard to say. Or we could play Bristly Bill and drop the land. If we had a 1-drop, I think that would probably be the way to go. I think that would probably be the way to go. But alas, we do not. So I think we try to get as much value as we can. We saddle with the Warden. We swing, we put a counter on the Warden. And now the Ox can protect the Warden, and the Warden's off to the races. And I'm off to get coffee. I guess the real question here now is, will we draw land? Because if so, we might go Bristly Bill into Role Model. That might just be better. If not, we obviously stay mana efficient, play Warden. Resolve there. Swing for 3, sure. I can't believe he hasn't used any removal. He's just allowed us to keep our entire board. Well, that makes me want to use Fenrir now to get the land we need. So maybe that's the direction we go? I don't think we can swing with the Ox this turn. Yeah, we'll just Fenrir. Get set up. And I think we probably want the 2/2 right now. It still has a lore counter and can be protected by the Ox even if we don't put +1/+1 counters on it. So I think we make the 2/2. Pass the turn. If we can trade the Fenrir for something, we're not super unhappy about that because the Fenrir goes away eventually anyway. Winter Night Stories. He's thinking hard. He wants to swing. No, there will be none of that. Hexproof, my friend. And indestructible. Wow. What a knucklehead. You realize they have indestructible, right? Reading the card explains the card, my friend. Would you like to swing? Probably not. Oh man, now we just have Ouroboroid. Yeah, we'll do that. Off of a Warden of the Grove. Absolutely put the counters on it. Make everything huge. Smash face. He has to block or he dies. Insane. Insane. We don't have our protection up, and we don't have our Jenova. Sounds about right, Finn. Drops a fear of missing out. I just don't think he can do enough at this point. I mean, maybe, but I doubt it. Just card draw? Why? So you've basically given up. Oh god, another Ouroboroid? Insane. So crazy. Thanks so much for checking out my channel. I'd like to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons over at Patreon. Without you guys, this channel would not be possible, so honestly, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your contributions. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe. The more likes we get and the quicker we get them, the bigger this channel will grow and the faster it will grow. I'd love nothing more than this channel to become something very special for you guys, but it's entirely up to you how fast that happens. Also, if you'd like more deck text, that's somewhere over there, and if you'd like to see what else the channel's been up to lately, that's somewhere up that way. Also, subscribe, circle below, do all the things.